There's two things I want to share with you that you can do to kind of optimize your database and also optimize your next.js application. If you look at this chart over here on planet scale, this is where my database for my icon generator AI is hosted. And if you look at this point, there's a lot more row reads than there are at this point. And I think planet scale kind of charges you by row reads, and they give you like 1 billion row reads on the free tier. So if I go over here, you'll see that I'm at like 211 million row reads, and it's like half the month right now, right? So I could probably hit 50% by the end of the month. So I'd figured, hey, let's kind of tweak this so that I can kind of remain in the free tier as long as possible. So let's go down to row reads again. I want to show you what I changed to basically take these and drop them down to this, right? And it's pretty simple. So first of all, I went through here and I said, okay, well, what is causing so many row reads? You see that there's 53 requests of total of 2.7 million row reads on those requests. And then down here, there's 225 requests with a total of 2.5 million. All right, so let me show you how I kind of tune this a little bit to be more optimized. So if you look at this query right here, it's doing a select to get all of the trials. There's a table called trials, and I'm selecting by email, okay? But if you notice here, to do a single select to find a record that matches the email, it's doing 2.5 million row reads, which is a sign that you don't have an index set up properly, right? You're doing a query that needs to run through all of your records, and that's not really good. So what you can do if you're using Prisma is you can add indexes to various columns. So in this case, I went here and I added a index to the email column because I'm doing a select to try to find the row that matches the email. But this wasn't even like indexed before. This is just a field. And when you try to do queries with the where clause on certain fields that aren't indexed, it basically has to loop through a lot of data to find what you're looking for. So at the very least, I would say if you're trying to do a where clause, make sure that something in that where clause is an index so it can reduce the amount of searches. That's how you can do that. You basically say index email. You can also do multiple things here. So I could do like, well, this is a bad example, but like if you wanted to add more columns, you could actually add one with a comma separated array list. Okay, so let's see how long it takes now after doing that change. We'll go ahead and expand this, and we'll see if we can find trial. All right, so here is the same query. We've had 110 in that time period, and the row reads are 1. Okay, so we drop that down significantly just by adding an index. So the main downside to an index is that your table, your database, is going to end up using more data so that it can create these indexes. But ultimately, it's not that much more data, right? But ultimately, it's not that much more data, and usually it's kind of worth it. I mean, like disk space is a lot cheaper than compute time. So usually adding an index where possible is going to help stuff out. Here's another query that actually did a lot of row reads, right? So if you click on this one, you'll see that it's doing a where icon.userid is equal to user ID. I did not have this index here on user ID, so we were doing a bunch of selects trying to query where the user ID was set. But obviously, if the index isn't there, it has to loop through all of your icons to try to find what you're looking for. Okay, so that's another kind of optimization that I did, where that dropped down that query. Let's see if I can just find that same query here. So that dropped that same query down to about 67 row reads. I think this is the one if I expand it. Yeah, where user ID is equal to star. So that's one technique you can kind of do. Try to go through, add indexes to where you have queries that are taking quite a long time or doing a lot of row reads, and that can really improve your performance. All right, so this second thing I'm going to share with you all is a reason why I do like next.js. I know I talk poorly about the app router, but in terms of the pages router, I do think there's a lot of flexibility for picking and choosing when stuff is cached. Okay, so for example, these counts right here, these used to load every single time someone were to hit this page, right? So we do a database query, we try to get the counts, and then we show them in the UI. And that was done every time this page loads, right? So doing a full table count star when the page loads for every single user is not the best use of your resources, right? Especially since users don't need to see the latest, greatest number of users and number of icons, right? So if there's a way to basically cache this, you can do that with Next.js very easily. So with the pages router, you basically say get static props. And inside of here, you can just do any type of database request to get the data that you want. So do the request to Prisma, get that information and send it back. But because we're doing get static props, we can actually say revalidate after an hour. So this page, because of where I'm hosting it, is only ever going to get recomputed once every hour, which means that the number of requests to do that count star against my table is going to be only ran once an hour, which is going to make this page load very quick for a lot of people. So that's one thing I do like about next.js is that they give you the ability to opt in to caching in most scenarios, other than the app router fiasco that I kept making videos about. So hopefully you learned one or two new things from watching this video. Again, it's about database indexes and then also the caching mechanisms that are built into the pages router of next.js. So keep that in mind. And again, never do premature optimizations. Let your application run in production for a little bit. Start looking at your queries, do analysis on like which ones are taking a while, and then you can come back through and figure out what you can add indexes to, what you can restructure, and what you can change to really make it more performant. All right, like always, I got a Discord channel. You guys are welcome to join if you want to find a place to hang out or talk to other developers. Other than that, have a good day and happy coding.